morning, everyone. Welcome to Unleash Her, the one platform where you're going to hear all about how to become amazing at whatever it is that you do. We talk a lot about business. You have two business women here. I'm Michele Kline. I'm coach at Kline Hospitality. I am the president, founder, and operator of Kline Hospitality, where we help businesses and people. CEO and founder of She Rises Studios, Hanna Olivas. Hanna, how are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing fabulous. I'm excited to talk about today's topic.
Tell us what today's topic is.
So we're going to talk to phenomenal women out there about what does it take to be a global business leader and expert. And it's a very large topic to talk about, and we only do about 15 minutes. So we're going to give you like the gems today as best we can. But I always say this: if you want to learn more, reach out to Michele, reach out to someone through She Rises. We have a lot of programs and a lot of things that we can help and assist you to becoming that global leader and expert.
So how would you say, Hanna, you become that global leader?
Ooh, grit. Consistency, knowledge, long hours sometimes. Even when I want to give up, I know I can't give up. I have to always revisit, why am I doing this? Especially on the harder days, why am I doing this? Running a international company is not easy. It requires a lot of patience and but
long
most
hours,
of all,
crazy
long
hours.
Yeah. And we are responsible to schedule ourselves, right? But what happens if we have a client who absolutely has to have you right then and there? What do you do? Say no and say, no, I'm sorry, I'm going on vacation with my family? Or do we have to say, you know what, family, I do have the liberty and the freedom, but here's the liberty and freedom I have. So I always tell people it is an amazing experience to own your own business, but even we have schedules that we must follow. So it's a journey.
and I think it has a lot to do with becoming an expert on a specific field, right? When you're known for something specific, that's kind of how you're able to now expand your reach. Perhaps you start in your immediate community or a specific region around you, and then as people in that area start getting to know you and the results and what you do, or maybe a specific industry, that is kind of how you start expanding and making it global. But how important is it when you go global to not only be available on very crazy hours, right, but also understand the cultures? So I'm training leaders, the top leaders at an airline, and obviously this is an international airline, and not every leader can be on schedule at 9 to 5 my time to be able for me to deliver this training. So being available to them has made me perhaps be on the clock at 1 a.m. and I roll into bed at 2:30 after wrapping up a training, or at 5 in the morning, and then 2 hours later I have to get up, chop chop, and take the kids to school. So how do we maneuver around that and juggle those different schedules? But how important is it not only to be in tune with being part and available of the needs of our clients, but also understanding what their pain points are in their specific regions, right? So do you think you can share a little bit about that?
I'm just going to kind of chime off of what you just said. So when you are dealing with a global business, number one, you do have to be flexible. You're talking about all different sorts of time zones. You're talking about clients who do need you to be available at all different times. So you kind of have to, it's a lot of trial and error to me, creating that schedule, learning how to navigate through the different time zones, learning even how to do business with people from other countries. Their culture is different. Their business culture is different. There's some people that flat out, work 2 days a week and the rest is, for fun, to enjoy life. So you really have to do your research when
Yes.
you're taking these clients on and understand what it is what their expectations are. I always say, before you hire us, give us your expectations. Discover. We call it our discovery calls. What is it that you want to accomplish? What is it that you expect from us? What's the time frame you're looking at?
And
And
I
then
think it
we have to
starts with
decide
the
if we can do
name.
it. Uh-huh.
I think it starts with a name, right? Like asking the question, how would you like me to call you?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to start learning and immersing yourself into these cultural differences because number one, you're probably going to butcher the name. Number two, there are many countries in the world that use specific acronyms before or after,
Yes.
especially in Asia, for example. Other countries where perhaps you cannot address someone by their first name, or you should never address them by their last name because that is going to put you in a different level when it comes to the hierarchy of how the dynamic of that meeting is going to go. So, having those discovery calls where you're learning all of this is extremely important, but it starts with the name.
Absolutely. Even for us, how I've been asked, how would you like us to address you? So it is something as simple as understanding how your client wants to be addressed. I totally agree. Um, I think also being a global leader and expert in your field requires you to have some amazing negotiation skills. And it goes back to understanding who they are, what they're looking for, and how we can help them build their business, how we can help them be the expert that they want to be, or branded as the expert that they want to be branded. So it really requires you to even have a presence, whatever countries, wherever you're looking to do business, whether it's here in the US, if it's in Asia,
Yeah.
you have to have some presence or some form of presence there so that people understand who you are, that you have a trusted brand, and that there's somebody that they look to as being that expert.
Absolutely. I did some work with a company that was based out of Netherlands not too long ago. But the team based out of Netherlands was working with a team based out of France. So even though Europe has a somewhat similar way of negotiating, like you're saying,
Mhm.
Hannah, there were certain things that were very different. And it took me to do some research to make sure that this is the way I'm going to connect with them, with this piece of the group, and this is the way I'm going to connect with this piece of the group. And then things got a little muddier when we had people from the UK become
Mhm.
part of this particular initiative when services were actually going to be rendered in the US. So now you
Mhm.
have this melting pot. But when it comes to the negotiation, that was crucial for me to understand how I was going to connect with those from the various different countries, even though the
Right.
service was going to be provided in the US. And how do you explain to them that this particular service in the US is viewed and enjoyed this way, which is different than it's viewed and enjoyed in those three different countries where these people were from.
I agree. And that goes back to what I was saying, that global strategic thinking. So you kind of, we as global business owners really have had to invest in the knowledge side of things, invest in learning as much as possible so that we're productive, just as productive here in the US as over in the other countries that we're working with. You even have to learn the currency, the price point. Like even for example, our books, what we price point our books here for in the United States versus what they cost in, say, Canada or the United Kingdom, it is a significant difference. And so we've had to learn, like, okay, so what we charge here is going to be like $60 over there. And how many people are going to pay $60 for a book? You know, so we've had to, those are things that you really have to understand and learn, is the value of currency exchange between them, where they are and where we are. and it
Yeah.
has to be beneficial for both. And that goes into that negotiation process, that goes into that global strategic thinking, and that goes back into having that presence and understanding of how that market works. So it's not something that you can just run, jump, and dive into. You actually have to do your due diligence and get educated, um, to be able to be that global business leader and
Yeah,
expert.
absolutely. In my case, part of the globalization of the services I provide had to do a lot with, like you were saying earlier, understanding the culture, but also leaning in towards what the pain points or the problems are that they're having, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from the women leadership aspect of it, of or me advocating for women in the workplace, it was a lot of how do we operate in the hospitality industry or the service industry in other countries in the world, and how can I potentially help those women, right,
Right.
to raise their hand, to know how to use their voice, and on all those things. And then on the other hand, from the training aspect, like what are those struggles that a leader has in those other countries in the world in various industries,
Mm-hmm.
so that by leaning in and understanding what that looks like, I can best find the solution and also connect with them, because now we're speaking the same language, we're talking about the same issues, and they can see themselves reflected in the stories that I'm sharing with them as we're going through the process
Mm-hmm.
of transforming the business, or themselves as individuals. So what has that
Absolutely.
been for you?
You know, it's it's similar. What you're speaking about is similar. It's kind of like I'm bouncing off of what you're saying, but that's because what you've talked about are things that we've experienced, and you have to be prepared for just about anything when you're dealing on a global level. You have to be prepared for just about anything when you're um, trying to work. What about a language barrier? Like that's been another huge one for us. What do you do when the language barrier is limited? How do you overcome that? One thing that we've had to do is Duolingo. We've had to have people translate. We've had to have documents translated. Those are all different things that come up when you're trying to be that global leader or expert. You have to be able to communicate in that person's language and their business language. What about having the mindset of what we do here in the US is right and everywhere else is wrong? How do you overcome that mindset of no, how we do business here is the right way and you guys are doing it this way? How do you overcome that little barrier when
I,
you're
I
when you're
totally
working through
agree with
that?
that. And I think this is what it's so interesting. And I always say this, like we are so different and our industries are so different, and what we do is so different, but yet so similar. So
Yes.
so for me, for example, that I also do a lot of process improvement assessments and training in the service industry. The best example is the restaurant business.
Mm-hmm.
The timings, when you, from the moment the guest sits at your table at a restaurant till the moment they leave, the timing and the checkpoints from the server with that guest are
Mm-hmm.
completely different in the US than they are in various other areas in the world. Like you can't even compare Europe with the US with South America. It's
Right.
so different. So that it's so interesting that you're saying that, because you have to adapt, because your mindset is, our way is the right way. And there's a reason
Mm-hmm.
why they're hiring me, right? They know that my way is the American way, right?
Right.
But then you go in and you start learning and leaning in and learning
Mm-hmm.
these other ways that perhaps we got to tweak the way we do things a little bit to be able to fit in
Mm-hmm.
and connect and move the project to the next level.
What about, when you're doing businesses in countries who are so guarded,
Mm.
who do not want to welcome in certain people? How do you overcome those barriers? That's for a whole nother conversation. But those are things that truly happen. Like you and I had a conversation, I think it was our last live before we actually went live. I was saying, eat less food, do more business. And you said that's funny because in your culture, when you're eating and talking and doing business, that's when the relationships form the most. So that even right there is just a little um, opposite from
Yeah.
one person's perspective to the other. Some people in different countries, that's what they do. Their best negotiations happen over food or
Yeah.
coffee. It doesn't
Be-
happen in a
Because it's
boardroom.
a way of
Right.
bonding.
Yeah.
In other, some cultures, it's a way of bonding.
Hmm.
Like we're breaking bread. We're literally sitting here when sharing a meal, and sharing a meal is a big deal. It's not just, sitting or driving through. It's
Yeah,
not a thing you do. It's actually a ritual.
it is. And so true. But I there's so many different pillars to becoming that global expert and leader in your field. And for anyone who really is truly looking to expand their business into other countries, needs to know the importance of understanding the culture, the diversities that are there, um, how to speak, the language barriers, just all of it. Before you run and say, I'm opening my business in Mexico, there's a lot of things you need to know. Same
Yes.
thing if you want to do business in Asia. You have to do your research. And
Yes.
I feel like this is a topic, and we say this after every live, but I feel like this is a topic that we should definitely revisit and give some pointers. I think it's something that we can even put into a workshop because right now, everyone is doing business online. Almost every single person who's a business owner is operating in some form or presence online, and you are dealing with people from other countries. So, if you're looking to succeed in this economy, in today's economy, whether you're service based, product based, whatever that is, you are going to need the essential tools and fundamentals to be successful. And that's what we want to teach to all women who are ready to learn those fundamentals. So unless Michele has any more awesome gems to add, I think we have concluded today's top pointers.
Yes, and we'll see you next time. And just let us know if there's a specific topic you want us to discuss. Like I said before, we bring a ton of perspective into the mix. So it's always good to hear from you as you want us to line up the topics for the next Tuesdays coming up. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you. And congratulations to Michele and all the other amazing co authors. We had our book come out on Mother's Day, Becoming an Unstoppable Mompreneur. For you mamas out there, we call May Mother's Day month. I feel like mothers should be celebrated every day, not
Every
just
day.
one day, not just a month, but all the time. So if you have not read the book, if you haven't heard the buzz, get the book, read it, give us a review, reach out. If you like what you've heard, if you want to reach out to Michele, if you want to reach out to the She Rises team, we would love to hear from you. And lastly, both Michele and I are looking for some phenomenal powerhouse women for our next book project called Unleash Her. We are looking for women who are ready to unleash that female power within, to share their stories, their journey. So reach out to us. Other than that, we will be back next Tuesday, same time, same place, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Michele.
Thank you, and
And
congratulations to you too.
thank you. We will see everyone next week. Have a positive week ahead.
Bye.
Bye.